Good evening. We'll call the meeting of the Planning Board, February 24th, 2001 to order at 6:33. We'll take roll call of members present. Roger Hoyt present. Larry Boudreau,
Here.
Walt Meisner,
Here.
Richard Wright.
Here.
And Lindsay will not be joining us tonight. She had a unscheduled meeting pop up. So if I could have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I move approval of the agenda.
I'll second that.
Second by Larry.
Yep.
Okay, we'll do by roll call vote. Roger Hoyt, yes. Larry Boudreau,
Yes.
Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Richard Wright.
Yes.
Okay. Walt, could you take the minutes tonight, notes?
Yep, I will. He says enthusiastically.
Good. Well, we have the recording as the official minutes anyway, but thank you. Read the notifications. Order and exact times of agenda items may vary at the board's discretion, with the exception of public hearings, which cannot start prior to the scheduled time. We have none of those tonight. Items on the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours prior to meeting. Votes may be taken. That's a general thing. Document submitted for review can be found on the planning board tab on the town website. It's possible it's under the My Town Government on the calendar for tonight's meeting. The meeting is being recorded. The recorded minutes will be the official record, but written minutes will be prepared for easier reference to the topics covered and actions taken. As this is a remote meeting, please keep your microphone on mute unless you've been invited by the chairman to speak. When the floor is open for public comment, please raise your hand using the feature provided in Zoom and wait until you are recognized by the chairman to speak. As this is a remote meeting, those appearing before the board shall be prepared to share their screen to present materials for discussion. As far as chairman comments, there is an open seat in the upcoming election for the planning board. There were no nominations at the town caucus, so if anyone is interested, there is an open spot to get your nomination papers. I don't have any other comments. Richard, do you have any comments?
No, I wasn't. Last night I had a meeting with you guys last night, so I
Right.
wasn't able to have the meeting with the other group.
Okay, well, as that's a recorded meeting, it will be available for viewing also. All right,
I can
go on to the next item. Application received. Since the last meeting, we received a preliminary subdivision plan for Lily Hill off of Murray Road. And we received a site plan review application from Earthland Development for a 3-unit motel on parcel 7123 lot 3. If you're looking on the town assessor's map website, that 7123 was divided by A&R earlier this year into 3 lots, so this is lot 3. Just wave your hand or whatever if you see anybody in the waiting room.
So are they, is the subdivision Lily Hill going to introduce it, or is it just a matter of record that?
That's a matter of record. As far as that, we will, it's been sent out to the boards for comment as prescribed in the subdivision regulations for comment.
So is it going on the next agenda, you think, or a future? agenda?
I've asked for replies from them as to whether they will comment or not, and the comments to be done by, I believe it was March 8th, in time for our next meeting. It's 6 houses on a short cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Previously, earlier this year, we did an A&R, divided that parcel into 3 properties. So 2 of the lots were divided by that A&R, and this is for the remaining area into 6 house lots. And then as far as earthland development, we've got an application. The initial application, we've had subsequent revised site plans submitted, so came in late today, so that'll get clarified and posted following the meeting. At this point, we can go on to
Ross is here. Is there going to be any presentations of either of these?
I'm not planning on that. It's more of a discussion of the procedure and schedule at this point. Given that we had revised drawings submitted recent time, that I don't believe board members have had a chance to review those. And what may be posted may be not yet updated.
Well, I took a look at the earthland development documents this afternoon. I have not really studied the Lily Hill subdivision.
And that one is fairly straightforward.
The Lily Hill is, yes.
See where, hopefully we don't have any A&Rs for tonight. Okay, we do have Paul and Chris McDermott from MRPC. So anyone has any objections, we can proceed with some of the other items until we get to 7 o'clock for open discussion. As far as the planning grants, we're looking for topics for the round 2 applications. Those are due March 2nd, I believe. And we'll hear later on the updates on the current ones that we're working with. We did receive a round 1 grant for updating the land use chapter of the master plan. We have no, I don't see we have it here, so I don't believe we have any subdivision updates. I forwarded everybody the recent changes by the Mass Legislature to the Zoning Act. Waiting to figure out how those affect Ashburnham. Primarily, their modifications to the what's required for approving amendments and special permits. Certain items were changed from a 2/3 majority to a simple majority. Then we will have hopefully sometime in April, a public hearing for any of the proposed bylaws revisions if we have that one ready. So tentatively, we was picking the first week of April. Does April 7th work for board members?
Yes, I can make it work.
Larry?
I'm checking. Oh, yeah, as long as it's a Wednesday, I'm good.
Wednesday, okay, yeah, it is a Wednesday. Yep, we
Yeah.
got your message about the other date. So, and that will give us a meeting or two afterwards if we, based on public comments and such, if we need to make any revisions before the May town meeting. So I will go ahead and get that scheduled. What could be on there would be the updating the watershed and surface water protection bylaws to correspond with recent changes in the DEP regulations. Why don't we go on to the correspondence? Any reports from other boards and committees? Richard, you said you, obviously, because we had a meeting last night, couldn't get to economic development, but Walt, anything to
I
report
missed
from?
that meeting last night because
Yep.
of our meeting last night.
So Walt, anything on the
And Mark,
bylaw review committee?
there was a meeting prior to this meeting that I was not present at because I had a work commitment. But it was to consider the Green Ventures application, which is a grow facility. It's a very small operation. And we reviewed it at a previous meeting ourselves. So that one is, I have not heard the results of this evening's meeting yet, but it was suspected that it would probably pass and move on to Board of Selectmen. Or their public meeting that they have to have. As with regards to the bylaw committee, bylaw review committee, it's met twice since our last meeting. It's essentially charged between now and May 1st. We're trying to collect all the bylaws. We're reviewing, trying to identify inconsistencies and issues with the bylaws and organize a process by which a prioritized review will be undertaken. So the bylaw review committee is still in an organizing stage and is not yet focused on any of the particular bylaws yet. And those would be the two that I would be reporting on.
Okay. Thank you. We can go on to the we can talk about the annual report after. Just under item 11C, appointments. As I said, an email to you, I have the opportunity for the next few weeks to attend a daytime meeting with NJTC. We have not filled that appointment, and I would be able to do that for the shorter term. So if want to make that appointment, if anyone doesn't object, I'll make a motion to appoint myself, Roger Hoyt, as the NJTC representative from the planning board.
I second and strongly support.
So we'll do it by roll call vote. Richard Wright,
Yes.
Walt Meisner, Larry Boudreau,
Yes. Thank you, Roger.
and myself, Roger Hoyt. Yes. Okay. Thank you. As far as the other appointments to representative boards and such, does anyone feel that they're overloaded or anything, or want to volunteer for something else. You know, capital planning had a meeting such on short notice. I wasn't able to attend, but hopefully a little more notice I can make the next one if we have one, which would probably be before the town meeting. I don't think Complete Streets has met recently. So continue on that. At this point, since we have quite a few people here, and I can anticipate what you're here for. So, and we have Paul from Graz Engineering. Is that correct?
Yes.
Hello, Paul.
Hey.
Sid, if you want to just give a brief introduction of the project. I know we've just gotten some recent drawings and such in today with some revisions. So kind of tonight, we'll kind of just talk about what you've submitted and kind of set a schedule and going forward with things like peer review and such.
All right.
I can give you a few minutes to give a brief description.
All right. I will screen over there.
Are you able to share your screen?
Can
Let me stop mine.
Yes. Can you see that?
I see everybody now.
Well, you should be able to get on now.
So I'll mute myself. Somebody sees anyone in the waiting room, just send me a chat message or such.
They're visible now?
Yep.
Okay, good. Nice. Okay, so this is the north end of the property. We divided by A&R maybe last fall. I forget exactly when. And you may recall we had a zoning line coming through the property. So on this northerly lot, it was primarily in the business zoning district. So what Danny Gardner, Earth Land Development, would like to do here is put a 3-unit, calling it the Butler Motel, on this lot. Now, as you can see, we've got, it's a relatively small lot. We've got some wetlands right here. It's a low area and a culvert going under the roadway there. Our septic is on the southeasterly corner. The only point we can get away from the wetlands, and then the rest of the building and the parking and all are between the septic and the wetlands. We have some stormwater management over on the southwest corner of the lot. We have filed with conservation. I sent them the updated plan also, and I believe our hearing with them is, I want to say March 8th. Yeah, March 8th. So we're basically, 3 units is all we can do because of we're limited by septic loading on the property. So I can't in gallons per day in the lot, and the lot's kind of small anyway, so it's limited in that respect. So basically, we're gonna have, it's gonna be relatively level. We're gonna have a retaining wall over here, just beyond the pavement and the parking, flat area for the building, some parking in front, trash, pretty much open drainage. So the use is allowed in the zoning district. And that's basically it. The change we made from what was previously submitted, previous plan we had submitted had the building up closer to the kind of where my cursor, a little hand is right there. And we had the building at an angle, and the owner, Danny, just didn't like the look of it. It was kind of at a sharp angle to the roadway. So we moved things around, moved our direction, got them back a little more parallel with the road. And, that was the change that we made. That's it in a nutshell.
I'll start off. I saw right before we started this meeting, I saw the letter from Sarah, our building commissioner, with regards to zoning determination, which, while it didn't say that it did not fit into the zone, she did raise questions or concerns that this really is an apartment building, not a motel, and which is not zoned for business. And while she just expressed it as a concern, I would be a little stronger and say this is not a project that fits the zoning of that particular corner. That's just my first reaction. This is the first time we as a planning board have met since the project's been coming in, so we haven't had any discussion among the 5 of us on the board. But my reaction to this is that this is not a motel. It's a duplex. It's an apartment building. It's housing. And my recollection, while I haven't had time to sort of pull up the original plan, that when we divided the 3 into 3 lots, it was lot number 1, this is lot 3. Lot number 1 was all in the green business zone. Lot number 2 was predominantly in the green zone, but did have some business zoning in it, lot 2, and that there was the promise that the housing that you put on lot number 2 would be only in the green zoning district and would not touch the business, but that this lot was almost entirely, if not entirely, in the business district. It's a prominent corner that, in my opinion, screams for business, legitimate business. It says 3-unit motel, but if I remember from the plan, it's actually 2 one-bedroom apartments with a space that you're calling an office in the middle, which I have a hard time understanding what that could be. And I've never known of a 2-room motel. I've known of boarding houses, and I've known, small, duplex houses, but not a motel. I can't believe that there's a business plan that would make that work. I just, as one member on the planning board, Paul, I just can't support this as it's presented. So I'd want to see a business plan. I'd want to know how because what's going to happen is if it fails, what's it going to become? And we, as elected members representing the town and the people in that area, we have a responsibility towards, making good plan, making sure that projects are, particularly in the business district, have a chance of succeeding and enhancing the area. And this one doesn't look like it can. And that's just my 2 bits on it.
Okay, yeah, I do recall your comments, similar comments from the last proposal. Hopefully we can address your concerns as we go along. Danny has an attorney representing him on this particular application. Not sure if he's on here right now, but
Mr. Chairman, my name is David Plunkett, and I am here for Mr. Garden. So just as a means of introduction, I'm sorry to, cut in on Paul, but just so that you knew that I was here and what
Yeah.
my capacity is at this time. So,
Okay, could you just state your name again?
yes, Mr. Chairman, it's David Plunkett
Plunkett, okay.
from
Thank you.
Lowell, Massachusetts. Thank you.
but yeah, we'll address the concerns as they come along, and hopefully get you the information you need.
Mr. Chairman, if I could then just piggyback on Paul's.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. And, we have talked to the building commissioner. We've made contact with the Board of Health relative to the process. They're making a determination of the process necessary to get the permit from the Board of Health. We understand, this is the first time that the project of this sort would be built in town, that there's going to be a matter of making the determination of what is necessary to meet the criteria that will be required to have this as a motel. But the intent is that, we will do whatever is necessary to meet the criteria as required. And that the intent is that it will be built out as a motel. And, we'll work with the town to make the determination of what information you need, what permits we need, what registrations are necessary, and move forward from there, fully compliant with whatever and all the requirements and regulations that pertain to the operation of a motel in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and within the town.
Does Mr. Gardner have experience running motels? Are there any others in the area that are referenced?
He does not have a motel under his operation at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Do you know anywhere, I don't care, anywhere in the state of Massachusetts that has a 2-room motel? Anyone that, and both of the rooms have kitchens and baths and living rooms and a bedroom, which is an
Actually-
apartment to me. How can you call that a motel? And yeah, I understand you'll do all your process, but you got to answer a pretty significant question there. How is this a motel? It's a duplex.
It's actually 3 there, Walt.
It would be a motel in that it would be operated as motel, that you could be rented on an overnight basis. We would be paying the tax that's levied on the motel for a stay regarding, overnight, weekly, monthly, whatever it might be. The same as any other motel operation in the Commonwealth, that we would comply completely with any and all rules and regulations pertaining to the operation of that type of function.
Can you show me one other successful motel that's only 2 rooms in the whole state of Massachusetts? I'm just asking the question because I know that this is going to be, for the townspeople of Ashburnham, a really difficult hurdle to get over. And that's who we represent. And nobody's going to believe that's going to be a motel. It's going to become, an apartment building. And that's not what this is zoned for. So I think all I'm saying is this is a preliminary meeting, first introduction of the plan to us. I'm just telling you, you're going to have to get over that hurdle. And it's not, I don't think it's going to be well received.
My question is, if 2 of the units are to be rented out and you have a resident manager in the 3rd unit
Third-
office, is that now a rented out unit, or is that a residence if the manager's living there?
We'd have to see how it is going to be determined relative to in terms of registration for tax implications, in terms of reporting to Commonwealth of Massachusetts of levy on fees for overnight stay and things of that sort. So this is a work in progress, and I appreciate any feedback, and I understand the questions. And as we gather the information, we'll put it together, and the intent is to provide you with what you need in order to have this move forward.
I have nothing else, Roger.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members?
At this point, since we're still in preliminary, I got nothing.
Yep. And we'll open up for the public comment section in a short second. I just want to say to Paul, it's such that we will be discussing whether we have a peer review. Are you at this point anticipating any more changes to the plan that we should inform the peer review firms that we'll reach out to, or can we
No.
send them what we have?
I would say send them what we have. I don't plan on making any changes. Obviously, we filed with conservation. You know, sometimes some changes come out of that, but they'll be going parallel, so that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You've updated the site plan? Are the drainage calculations and such updated to reflect the change in the pavement area and such?
Yes, they are. And in fact, tomorrow morning I'll drop off hard copies of everything at the town office.
Okay. So if we decide to do a peer review, which I would anticipate will be necessary, we'll start the process. That, as we saw before, it takes a while to get responses from the engineering firms that the town has arranged with. But we'll send that out. It's at least an idea from them as to when they will respond and the time frame to actually do the peer review. But at this point, we'll open it up for 15 minutes of public comment, and then get on with the rest of the meeting, as we've all just got this to begin with. Is there any member of the public? I just want to make sure I can read everyone's name, and I will kind of just go down the list as it appears here. If you'd like to do that. So is there anyone that would like to make a comment? Just raise your hand or see if I can see it. Okay, first one I see is Lorraine. You can unmute yourself, or I can, okay.
That's quite a leeway you're giving me there. First, to Mr. Graz, I remember when we were discussing the original motel, since this is like plan number 4 for this area, there was talk about needing a fire cistern in there in case of fire, since it was a public building or whatever. Has that been included in your plan? Can't hear you.
These will have sprinkler systems.
But for the water, for the actual amount of water that you need, when you had that other plan up, they said they'd need to have a cistern, kind of a separate water container in case of a fire since
Yeah, there
they're-
was a lot of units, multiple buildings and a lot of units on that last plan. But
Right.
These will still be sprinkled.
that would cover it, you think?
Yeah,
Okay, this is a little bit off topic, but not really. Back in December, they had a community outreach for Bruce David's country store property to become a marijuana facility, growing, selling, the whole 9 yards. Has that proceeded at all or not? Does anyone know? It was Eddie's Flowers from Springfield.
As far as I know, at least we haven't had any further contact with him.
No, I've looked on the site and I didn't see anything further come up for that.
The phase of they're negotiating with the Board of Selectmen a community host agreement. So there was a community, what do they call it? A community meeting on it, and a presentation, and comments were taken. And the application is still pretty much in the early stages because they have to have a community host agreement with us before they can go and get all their state licenses and stuff like that. But
Okay, so as far as you know, that hasn't really been finalized or
hasn't moved
anything.
too much further than it was before. I think a little bit slowed down by COVID, but I missed the MRT meeting tonight because I had a conflict. And so I don't know if a status report was given at that, but we should be able to check the minutes of the MRT meeting that was tonight to find out where that is in the process.
Okay, thank you. And back in, when the original Motel Butler was up, I had sent a letter to the planning board, which if I could suggest that you review that, because I kind of did my own little feasibility study as far as what the demand would be at this location for a motel and the traveling trends and attractions in the area and competition and so on. And to Mr. Plunkett, what are the rules for a extended stay motel as opposed to a regular motel? Because this one is coming up as Motel Butler Extended Stay. So I'm assuming there's a difference.
If you want to reply.
I don't know about the extended stay classification. Is that on the plan or?
Yes, it is.
Well, I mean, basically, say it's going to be following whatever rules and regulations pertain to the operation of a motel. So,
Well, I'm assuming there's a difference between a regular motel and extended stay. And the reason I say that is because the neighboring town had an extended stay motel built that is now apartments. So what's to prevent that, or what's to put limitations on that?
well, I suppose your limitations would be what's an approved use within an area. And if an apartment complex is not an approved use, then it's not going to be able to be utilized as such. Otherwise, your building commissioner will give a cease and desist order to stop the operation of something that's not consistent with the zone.
So is there a length of stay that would determine whether a occupant is a guest or a tenant legally?
I'm not aware of any definitive time frame for that.
Okay, thank you.
I do think that's a key question that you'll need to answer though.
Well, I'm assuming there may be rules somewhere, but like you say, this is a new thing for this town. And So there are questions. And that's one.
Let me just scroll through here.
Steve Caldwell.
Okay, Steve, let me, go ahead, Steve.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Steve.
All right. What about, has Mr. Gardner figured out what his room rates are gonna be on his two-room extended stay motel? Mr. Plunkett? Has he settled that would answer a lot of questions, number one.
I'm not sure I get the question. His roommates?
His room rates.
Oh, no, I'm not sure what the, if the rates have been set or what they, what they're gonna be set at. But obviously, there will be rates to be established.
So is there gonna be a housekeeping and that kind of service provided to the two-room extended stay motel? I mean, what can the neighborhood expect for clientele? Is it going to be rented by the hour?
Don't believe that it would be customary and usual to rent a motel by the hour. So this is not intended to be operated or used in any way that's contrary to the way that a motel is customarily used and operated.
I have to very quickly correct something I had said, two-room. It is, I'm looking at the plan now that's on the screen that we should all be able to see, and it is a three essentially bedroom, living room, 3 apartments. So it's 3, not 2, with an office, which we don't know what there's 2 offices. I can't imagine a 3-room motel would justify an individual staying there unless one of them is living, unless the manager of the motel is living there, being there the whole time. So, but I misspoke. It's 3, not 2.
2, not 3, not 2. Okay, yeah, I see it now. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Is there plans for expansion? Is there room to expand this property?
No,
Mr. Plunkett?
there isn't.
No? Oh, Mr. Graz, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the parcel right now, is there 1 or 2 houses there that are going up?
There's 2 houses. One of them's had the septic. The middle lot 2's been, I'm not sure at what point the framing's going on. On the lot 1 down by the corner, that just has a foundation and no septic yet.
So that's residential use right there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to clarify, this is a 1-story? I
That's
assume
correct.
that roof construction is trusses. There's no attic space to speak of.
Yes, correct.
Slab on grade or a basement or crawl space?
Actually, there will be a basement on the north unit and the middle unit, but the southerly one will be on a slab.
What's the reason for the basements in the 2 of them, the other 2, if it's a motel?
I would assume
Seems
just
like
for
a
some storage.
massive expense.
Yeah, the owner decided he wanted to have basements, and I told him we can't have a basement on
The one that's
the 3rd unit, the full unit. just for septic setback reasons.
Seems unusual.
How do you get into
The
the
basement is functional for somebody that owns property. Again, I don't think that would run contrary to the use of the building per se if he had, space that could be utilized for storage, whatever he has for supplies and things of that sort.
Would that just be related to the motel business? Solely to serve the motel?
I would assume that it would probably house the mechanicals, the water heaters, the heating system.
You could do that in the office.
Can you tell me how to access it from the plan that you have up on the screen? How do you access the basin? Where's the steps that go down?
There's two bulkheads on the back side here for those two units,
Okay.
right here, right here.
Mhm.
And that's how far from the side lot line or rear lot line, however it's classified? I guess it would be the rear.
Well, there's the rear lot line is labeled right here, 10-foot rear setback. And the bulkheads are a little bit off of that, maybe, I don't know, 3-4 feet, something like that.
The drainage has been calculated to handle the lot size?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we did pre and post development calculations and stormwater treatment. That's all included in the submittal.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I just came in today, right?
I just say,
we're
if you
using,
could state your name when you
Oh,
you
okay.
speak,
Sorry.
just so I could.
Sorry, Roger. Yeah.
Is anyone else? So we've got 10 participants. Okay, so has anyone else not had a chance to speak yet before we go back? Lorraine, I'll catch you in a second. Okay, you raise your hand. Go ahead, Lorraine.
Okay, I'm going back again. Could someone, I just can't read it, and I tried looking on the computer and I cannot read the dimensions on the building or on the rooms. Could someone just give me a quick little rundown, like approximately how big the building is and how big, say, a living room, bedroom, and that stuff is? Because I can't read it on, it's too small.
Paul, could you answer that?
Okay, yeah, I will, I'll see what I can do here. Wow, I'm gonna have to go look at my other screen here. I've got a set of plans that are legible.
Yeah, I know the problem.
I'm still on.
Actually, okay, so we got these look a little better.
The red line, get a red line in your microphone down there.
See if I can read these.
It says mute.
So,
There's a red line in it.
No.
so we have
I get to.
the bedrooms basically.
I think.
So your bedroom's about 11 feet by
I said mute.
looks like about 12. Yeah, 12 foot by 11 foot on the bedroom. The overall building's 84 by 25. Room looks like it's 11 and a half by 11 and a half, 12 by 11 and a half.
I just wanted kind of a basic idea because I wasn't able to read it. And the kitchen and everything is big enough to fit everything that's shown there. It seems like it's awfully small.
Yeah,
The rooms seem awfully small to me. And one more question
Yeah,
and I'll let it go. Way back when on one of the other plans or another, that little section out by 119, that's state property on the corner, you know, it's got some dirt in it. It's a parking area more or less on 119 and
Yes.
101 right on the corner. Is there access from this lot to 119 through that property, or is that state property? I mean, if the state came along and parked trucks there and dumped things there, is there any plan to use an access to 119 from there, from lot C or 3, whatever it is?
I don't believe we have any access rights through that. Our property ends right at this, well, right in the wetland there.
Yeah.
That's where our frontage ends, so.
And I hate to bring this up again, because I know I made a mistake on it last time, but where that business zone line goes, it does cross 101 before it crosses 119 on this plan. You can see it. On the other one, you couldn't really see it. And to me, no matter what I look at, I've tried doing little measurements and I realize they're not accurate, but when I go online and do a measurement from the Ashby line, 950 feet, which I was wrong on before, I come right kind of up to the easterly side of 101. I don't cross it. So I hate to belabor the point, but I've looked at it a number of times. Could anyone revisit that?
Yeah,
Which in
what we
this
did
case
on that
makes a difference.
Go ahead,
yeah,
Paul.
originally we had a line that was on a plan by Zoc surveyors. And upon reading the description of the zoning districts, we used survey grade GPS. The whole site is on NAD 83 survey datum, and which is state plane coordinates. And then we took the town line is defined by 2 bounds, not the one out on the highway, but by a bound further north up in the woods somewhere and one further south down by the pond somewhere. And we took the state plane coordinates for those 2 bounds and our state plane coordinates for the site. And then we came to 950 feet down the sideline, the south sideline of the highway. And that's where the line wound up being. It's shown, the whole thing is shown on the A&R plan that's been recorded. I couldn't tell you the book and page offhand, but you'll be able to see that on the registry deeds. Mass
I just
land
pulled up one of those mass survey sites or whatever and just did a quick measurement myself. And no matter how I do it, I don't cross 101 with that line. And that's maybe me. I could be mistaken. I was mistaken on that before. And but I've done it a couple of times and I know it's very technical and I don't know a lot about that, but I don't get it. So just want to make that point.
You can't use GIS. Well, there is an atlas for town corners in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the town atlases, they have the coordinates for the actual town boundaries on them.
Okay. Yep. All right.
So
Thanks.
That's how we came up with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve, I was getting a lot of background noise from you, so I clicked on the mute. You can unmute yourself if you have something you want to have a comment, but
Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Roger. I'm all set for the moment.
okay. Is there anyone else? I say I don't see anyone had tried to enter anything, so I don't think I've missed anybody. So I guess at this point, we've extended comment, but we'll wrap it up and just keep your eye on the agenda and such as we go forward. Matter of scheduling things until we get comments from other boards and committees and get the peer review out. We may not have much happening in the short term, but say keep an eye on the agenda.
All right, thank you.
And thank you, folks, and thank you for attending.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
And you're welcome. So Paul, if you just stop sharing. Thank you. We'll go on to the agenda. We have Chris McDermott from MRPC here, so why don't we go ahead with you, Chris?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to keep this brief. I know it's late for everybody, but just to give you guys a very quick update regarding the housing production plan. We've been moving along on that. The data has basically all been updated. There's a couple of tables where I wasn't able to find information, but we do have a staff member in our RPC who's far better with US Census information than I am. So I'll be reaching out to him, talking to him, just making sure that we get that information lined up. I've started going through the plan, making changes based upon that updated data. A lot of the information is similar to what we saw in Groton, which, as you recall, is the model we're using. So fortunately, there's not a huge amount of differentiation involved, but there are differences. So we're moving through, updating the numbers in the text itself, updating recommendations and observations. Just a couple of things that I've observed off the top of my head. Is the need, and I think you're all aware of this too, for senior residential developments, age appropriate housing. One of the things I noticed that was the population from, I believe it was 55 to 74, that population is actually rising. But interesting enough, the older population, 75 plus, is declining, which tells me those individuals are probably moving outside of the community to find homes and facilities that fit their needs. There's also been a decrease in the school population in recent years, which is something we've been seeing across the Commonwealth. Again, that speaks to an aging population. But that's my report for the moment. The project is moving ahead. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris, you got the survey data? Is that?
I do. As I was going to say, that actually is backed up in the survey itself. The survey, when you look through, one of the needs that's clearly defined is the need for senior residential developments or affordable housing for seniors. So that's something that seems to be very well known within the community and really backed up by the data.
Okay. And how many total responses did we get?
Let me pull it up. I might have it right here. Yes, I do. Just looking at most of the questions. Yeah, it seems to be 71 responses.
And
Yep, 71.
Do you feel that's representative and a sufficient number to draw conclusions from?
It's going to be, it's a smaller sample size, no doubt. But it does give some guidance. It does give a point and a direction. It does give a quick read on what the community is feeling. I know that obviously the people that respond to that are probably going to be people that are we would consider major stakeholders. So those are going to be the business leaders in the community. They're going to be the public officials in the community, elected officials, people who are likely to be on an outreach list for a survey of that nature. But those are also people who are ingrained in the community, who are active in the community, who really have their finger on the pulse. So there is a very, very useful point of view. And when it comes to those individuals, I do find 70 to be a good number. What I considered a statistical sample size, given the community's population. I forget it right off the top of my head, somewhere around 6,000. No, that wouldn't be a statistical sample size, but like I said, for getting a read on the community and judging, what direction it's feeling, I think it's a solid start. And then, like I said too, it's also backed up by a lot of the data that we're pulling together from the U.S. Census information.
Okay. Schedule wise?
I think we're moving along at a good pace. I believe closed the data out towards the end of January. Still moving ahead when it comes to the adaptation of the text. I think I set a schedule for somewhere around the end of March. That looks like what we're shooting for.
So that's
Okay.
when we'll see a draft, Chris?
That's the plan, yes.
Draft it by the end of March.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Is it affected at all by the recent legislative changes to the zoning and the Housing Choice Act?
I haven't had an opportunity to drill that far in.
And-
I did see that email you shot me. It seems Karen knows a lot more about that than
Yeah.
I would. She's a full-on planner. She's more experienced in planning, and it does seem like a topic that she's running with right now.
Okay.
So it's something that I plan on talking to her with, but it is something I would plan on taking a deeper look into as well, particularly as it pertains to Ashburnham.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to set a time to meet with us again? Or are we just gonna get it to us by the end of March? Is that?
Whichever you're more comfortable with. I'm happy to come back on a future meeting if you'd like, and give you guys an update, or I'm happy to come on towards the end of March and discuss the project's progress at that time.
Okay. I know we've got to have the items that Jennifer's working on for town meeting. So
So shall we target the last meeting in March?
last meeting in March for an update, and then we can at that point schedule something for mid-April then to meet and review it in depth.
4 weeks from today on March 24th.
Mhm.
Is that enough time, Chris?
I think so, yes.
All right. Good. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you, Chris. Good night.
Good night.
All right. We can review the minutes, and then I will find open up the file for whatever correspondence we had from, I believe it was meetings in Gardner. But, as far as the minutes go, Lindsay took the minutes and sent them to us.
I would move
Yeah.
that we just defer this to the next meeting when Lindsay's here.
I think kind of would rather we see if we can review at least the January ones. Just so we're up to date on those unless you really feel we're not ready for it, but my own comments, I didn't see anything critical other than I think a couple of just adding a few words here and there.
I'm okay with them.
I was fine with it also.
All right, so we can do the January ones. Hold on a second, I will bring them up. We had January 13th. Okay. My only comments were we just, under the A&R, we don't really approve, we endorse. It's just a word that's in there, and then and just adding where appropriate by roll call vote. And with the site plan review for Young Road, it was hold off on the scenic road permit. If it turns out that one is required, it can be done later. Just a second here. Okay, 13th. Can everyone see that? Other members, is the screen sharing correctly? Okay,
I can
all
see
right,
it.
you can see what I did there, and
I'll vote to approve the minutes with the changes.
Second,
okay, we'll do this one by roll call vote. Richard Wright,
Yes.
Larry Boudreau,
Yes,
Walt Meisner,
yes.
and Roger Hoyt, yes. So we will, as edited on this one for January 13th.
we're almost there.
Almost getting the hang of this. Must be getting ready to leave.
Right.
We go to January 20th, which was the working session. All right, let me get back to share screen here. January 20th. I don't think I had any comments on that. So anyone else have comments on it? Had a chance to review it, or?
Yeah, I read it. It looked
Okay.
good to me.
All right. I will make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, Walt Meisner,
Yes,
Larry Boudreau,
Yes,
Richard Wright,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So, and we have 27th. And should be up in a second. Can everyone see that?
yep.
Okay. I think we just did a little extra on the top line, so it's correctly the 27th. And I believe that was it. And if we do at a later date, see something that needs to be changed, we can always amend it. Any other comments? Are we all set?
That looks good to me. I wasn't there.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
But
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of January 27th with the edit as presented. Get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Roger Hoyt, by roll call vote, Roger Hoyt, yes. Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Larry Boudreau,
Yes,
Richard Wright. Richard?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the meeting minutes of the 27th are approved with the edit as indicated. If you hold on just a second, I'll bring up those meeting notices. Okay. um, We have from City Gardner, the zoning board of appeals meeting notice dated January 19th. So obviously that's passed. We have from Fitchburg City Council notice of public hearing to be held March 2nd, 2021 by Zoom meeting, phase 2 review of the zoning ordinance, as well as petition 221-2020 and petition 005-2021. And that's March 2nd, so keep that on your calendars. Town of Ashby Planning Board notice of hearing March 10th, 7:15 p.m. virtually. Site plan review. Property at 1093 Main Street. Let's see where it says what it is, but that's on March 10th. And that's what we have.
Good.
Back to our agenda, see if we skipped over anything. What we need to talk about is DLTA round 2 applications and anything for the town website. Go back to DLTA. I think we may have some discussion tomorrow on the MVP, if there's any mapping or something of the water and sewer systems that needs to be done. If it needs to be done immediate, then it won't be through a DLTA grant, but if it's something that is more of a short term but not immediate, then we can apply for that. I don't have any other suggestions other than that. I'm open to that if anyone has any suggestions.
Obviously, that would be a good one if we could get the grant to do that, but
That's it. I'm confident we could get the grant to do it. I don't know how it fits in the time frame of if it's necessary right away for the MVP.
Yeah.
But I would like to apply for something.
I think, Roger, I applaud it. It's good.
All right, so if it turns out, what's our backup plan, our number 2 option? Do we just pick another chapter of the master plan? Do we tell the Board of Selectmen, come up with something?
I think we tell the Board of Selectmen because they've been talking about so many things. I think they just have a better handle on it than we do.
Okay,
Yeah, so I think that's, we do that because we know it will help us, and then we give it to them because they certainly have ideas. They're running the master planning process. They're running the bylaw process. So they would be in the best position to decide if a DLTA grant could help us.
mm-hmm. Well, I'll just say what I think I mentioned this to Bill or to the selectmen at some point, that where we have several planning projects underway with MRPC, and I know they've increased their staff to deal with their current workload, very successful in getting funding grants for the organization to do work, and are staffed up to meet their obligations, but that if we were to tap into some of their other resources in departments, we might get some of these things in a shorter term, like mapping or other types of studies and such services. But yeah, we can just tell them that that's our recommendation for the water sewer mapping, and if that's not to be done, then they can suggest something else.
Agreed.
Okay, I guess we will, I mean, it's not like we really need to, anything to vote on that, but we can go by roll call vote that I'll make a motion that we recommend to, or ask the Board of Selectmen for their support for a mapping proposal. And if that's not to be done, then we will ask them to come up with something else. Because applications are due next Tuesday, so applications are not complicated. It's just a matter of getting it in. So roll call, or get a second on that?
I second it.
Walt's a second. We'll do roll call vote. Richard Wright,
Yes.
Larry Boudreau,
Yes,
Walt Meisner,
Yes,
and Roger Hoyt, yes. So I'll send an email out to the Board of Selectmen stating that. Next thing is our annual report.
oh, yeah. Yeah. I read it and I thought it worked. I knew you had to correct the numbers in it. But
Well, it turns out that the numbers were correct. You corrected the wording of that sentence that I had cut and pasted in. So you found that correction. Did you get what I don't recall if I emailed it out. In that email where I said you corrected it, did I include the file?
I don't believe so. I don't think I got the updated file, but I
I
could be
don't think I
wrong.
got it either.
Okay. At this point, I will, the only thing I changed was the wording in reference to Lindsay's completing her 3-year term. You had added a second sentence about completing
Yeah,
a term of, and I just,
I recommended moving that paragraph. Yeah, I
Yeah.
sent the file with
yes,
with track changes. Yeah, now I
Yes.
remember it.
and I had just reworded that original sentence that she was fulfilling the remaining 3 years of the vacated term, I think was the exact words I put in there. It left, it would have taken out the next sentence referring to Geraldine by name. Because we previously stated that she had resigned midterm.
Mhm. Yep,
Um,
I just put them together. I just suggested that move so it flowed better.
Yes, I agree with the way it was rearranged. It's just I had just changed the wording of that sentence.
Yep. Need a motion for approval?
Okay, I'll
I'll
second that.
second that.
All right, Larry seconded that. Second. Do a roll call vote. Richard Wright?
Yep.
Larry Boudreau,
Yes.
Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Roger Hoyt, yes. So I will send that off to Mary momentarily. So I think that includes everything. We will next meeting, March 10th. Is that
Mhm.
does that work?
That's it. That's the next one.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good.
I think at that point, I will go through my list of original topics at the beginning of the year for any bylaw changes and such. We can just skim through that list and see if there's anything that we can get on for this year. And have a public hearing. If I noticed in reviewing for subdivision regulations, procedures, just some things where it made reference to a section in the bylaw that was subsequently deleted by amendment. I think it was large-scale residential development, which I think is deleted and replaced by the OSRD. So there's things like that. We just remind everybody to go through those regulations before we begin reviewing the preliminary subdivision. And there's other things like reference to tasks by the town planner, which we currently don't have. But if you see anything in the bylaws that needs to be corrected, I'm compiling a list to periodically give to the bylaw review committee.
Which I really appreciate, because that'll help.
Again, we will have some, as I referenced earlier, the changes to the State Zoning Act, things that are cut and dry, clearly where the state overrode our, or updated our, changed our regulation, that it is what the state says, whether the bylaw is in conflict. So we can live with it as it is till we do a bylaw review. I don't necessarily see we want it, maybe I'm wrong on that, make any changes to that for this town meeting in May, perhaps, but it's just something to keep in mind as we go through hearings and such, that there may be other things to determine whether it's a 2/3 majority or simple majority for specific items. So we just need to be mindful of that as we do any special permits and such going forward. The other part about being an MVP community as designated by DCHD, there's a part in there that I sent you all that says we need to have a district where denser development of 15 units per acre is allowed by right. As far as the way the wording was, that without having that or complying with that requirement, we aren't eligible for certain types of state grants and funding. The way it's written is that you currently are presumed to be in compliance until they determine you're not. So we still are in the interim eligible for those programs. It didn't at this point give a time frame for when you need to establish that in your bylaws. But it's something we need to be thinking about as to how to comply with that. The requirements of it are, I think the recommendation was it's near your developed area or your town center, but where it's suitable for families and children. That was all it said. There is a requirement that if you had a transit station, it needs to be within a half mile of that, if applicable. We don't have anything in town. I don't know if any areas in town are within a half mile of a bus station or a bus stop or a bus route or something in an abutting town, but that's something we need to look at.
Okay.
I'd like to get an answer on the timeframe and, what's our risk until we do establish that. I think I mentioned that last night that, what if someone wanted to propose that and we don't have a location picked out? What's the risk of, and what options do we have for deciding where it could go at that point? But that's something to think about and work on. So town website committee is continuing. I know Lindsay had some experience with Gardner because she works there, but if anyone, and we did see something from Norwell. Was that on just more of a bylaw or organization?
Sample bylaw. There's a sample bylaw for the
Yeah.
open space and
Mhm.
Norwell's version of that. And Norwell is a town that who we feel that the way they handle and organize and make public their bylaws is a good model. And so
Okay.
we've been looking at that.
Is that something that we would feel could go to the website review committee for a sample of something that works?
Oh, that's a possibility. I haven't really studied it as much as the other. I'm mostly just going off what others have said. So
Yeah.
I
All right.
can't,
Well,
I'll take a look at it myself and because I have to for the bylaw. The bylaw review committee is meeting every week.
yeah.
So I have more than enough to do right now. So. But
Yeah. I say I'll take a look at that one, and if I think it's good, I'll make on my behalf a recommendation that it's a good example. And if anyone else has the opportunity to look at other town or websites or something and see something, I know, Walt, you may have, probably not Boston, but
yeah.
And I want to adjourn quickly here. What was I going to say? We have, again, an open seat with the no nominations at the caucus for planning board. That's a 5-year term. We also will have a expiring term for the associate member. So at some point we will.
No, we got a problem. We got to fill those up.
What I'm going to say is on the associate.
That is, I mean, the select board and I can't remember who was on it, but they're supposed to look for possible members. So.
Yeah, and there was one of the person in attendance tonight that I will reach out to and see if they're interested. What I was going to say is we will, as we get closer, put out the associate member is appointed, so our due process would be to publicize that as on the volunteer page and see if anyone is interested. There's a couple of options.
Associate member?
What's that?
Would you consider being the associate member?
We'll see if there are any responses once the volunteer applications are out there. What I'm saying is the consideration could be and is either a past member with experience, or is there an opportunity where someone who wants to get their you know, dip their feet into the water and see what it's like, and has an opportunity for moving on to a, you know, the full term at a later point as one of those opens up. Those were my thoughts on associate members, but at some point we'll, as we get closer to the end of Skip's term, we'll put the notice out. That way we can fill that position very quickly. Then I'm also going to see if with MRPC what the rules are for what the requirements are for a member appointment, whether it can be whether it has to be the full-term member, or if it can be the associate member, or it can be just an appointment. I would think it could be one of the 6 members of the board. I will find out. But I'd say I think we should be ready to fill that position as soon as possible after the election.
Okay.
That's it. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. I'm not going to give you the chance.
Okay.
Can I have a second on that?
All right,
You wake the others up here?
I'll second it.
Okay. Just before that, I'll go ahead and plan the public hearing for April 7th.
Okay.
6 o'clock, okay? Or 6:30,
6:30 is always better for me.
7?
Public
All right.
hearing, yeah, whatever.
All right, I'll put it through. We can always change it as it comes closer, but, all right. Roll call vote for motion to adjourn. Richard Wright,
Yeah.
Larry Boudreau,
Yes, sir.
Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Roger Hoyt, yes. Thank you, folks.
Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Bye-bye.